In the modern age, we have traded the natural rhythm of the sun for the relentless glow of the smartphone. We live in a state of perpetual noon, where notifications, deadlines, and the infinite scroll of social media keep our nervous systems in a state of high alert long after the body cries out for rest. Most of us don't truly end our day. We simply crash into exhaustion, carrying the anxieties, frustrations, and unfinished business of the afternoon into our dreams. This creates a cycle of reactive living where we wake up already behind, haunted by the ghosts of yesterday's stresses. But the ancient Stoics, men like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, understood a secret that we have largely forgotten. Tranquility is not something that happens to you, it is something you cultivate. They viewed the evening not as a time for mindless consumption, but as a sacred cleansing of the soul. By implementing a deliberate evening ritual, you reclaim the territory of your mind. You transition from a victim of circumstance to a master of your internal state. Reclaiming your night is about more than just better sleep. It is about closing the ledger of the day so you can start the next one with a clean slate and an unburdened heart. It is the practice of intentionality that separates those who merely survive the week from those who thrive within it. If you are ready to stop drifting and start living with the clarity of a Stoic, make sure to subscribe for more insights on mastering your habits and your life. The great tragedy of the modern era is not a lack of information, but a total deficiency of reflection. We are the most connected generation in human history, yet we are profoundly disconnected from ourselves. We live what Socrates famously warned against, the unexamined life. To the Stoics, living without reflection was equivalent to being a sleepwalker, moving through the world, reacting to stimuli, but never truly holding the reins of your own existence. The momentum of the unconscious. Most people begin their day in a defensive crouch. The alarm rings, and within seconds the thumb is scrolling. We ingest the world's problems, political strife, celebrity scandals, the curated successes of peers, before we have even acknowledged our own breath. This sets a trajectory of reactivity. When you do not examine your life, you're governed by external forces. You become a pawn of impulse. If someone cuts you off in traffic, you become angry because that is the default program. If a boss criticizes your work, you become anxious because you haven't built an internal fortress. Without an evening ritual to dismantle these reactions, they calcify into your personality. You don't just feel angry, you become an angry person. The digital opiate. We have replaced the Stoic practice of contemplation with the modern habit of distraction. The evening, which should be a time of psychological nesting, has become a battleground for our attention. The problem is rooted in the dopamine loops of our devices. When we feel the slight discomfort of a quiet room, we reach for a screen to numb the sensation. This prevents the moral audit that Seneca insisted upon. By filling every silence with noise, we avoid the uncomfortable questions. Did I act with courage today? Was I unkind to someone because of my own insecurities? Am I actually pursuing my own goals, or am I performing for an invisible audience? By avoiding these questions, we allow our faults to grow in the dark. A weed that could have been pulled with a 5-minute evening review becomes a sprawling thicket after a year of neglect. The accumulation of mental debt. Think of your mind like a business ledger. Every interaction, choice, and emotion is a transaction. When you don't close the books at night, you carry a balance of mental debt into the next day. This debt manifests as 1. Residual stress, that lingering tightness in your chest from a confrontation at 2 p.m. 2. Unresolved decision. Fatigue, the weight of 100 small choices that you haven't made peace with. 3. Moral decay, the slow erosion of your values because you aren't checking your actions against your principles. If you carry this debt for years, it leads to a midlife crisis, the sudden, jarring realization that you've been living a life that doesn't belong to you. You've been lived by your circumstances rather than living them yourself. The tyranny of the should. The unexamined life is also a life lived in the shadow of should. Without the Stoic filter of the dichotomy of control, we spend our nights agonizing over things we cannot change. We lie awake thinking about what we should have said, how the economy should be performing, or how others should treat us. This is a profound waste of the human intellect. Epictetus taught that the beginning of philosophy is the recognition of our own mental state. If we do not examine our thoughts, we mistake our opinions for facts. We believe the world is bad when in reality, it is simply our judgment of the world that is causing us pain. The cost of cognitive drifting. To live without an evening ritual is to be a ship without a rudder, drifting in the direction of the strongest current. In the short term, the cost is a bad night's sleep. In the long term, the cost is your character. Character is not built in grand, heroic moments. It is built in the quiet, mundane moments of self-correction. If you do not look at your day and identify where you slipped, you're doomed to slip in the exact same spot tomorrow. You become a repeater of history rather than a creator of it. The illusion of doing nothing. We often mistake resting for doing nothing. We think that sitting on the couch watching television is recovery. But for the Stoic, true rest is active. It is the process of putting the mind in order. The problem is that we've been conditioned to believe that self-reflection is work, and because we're tired from our jobs, we want to avoid more work. But reflection is actually the antidote to the exhaustion of work. It is the process of setting down the heavy bags we've been carrying all day. By refusing to do this work, we stay perpetually tired, dragging the weight of 10 years of unexamined days behind us. To the Stoic, the transition from day to night is not merely a physical shift from standing to lying down, it is a psychological ritual of retiring into oneself. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote about the need to find a retreat within one's own mind. These 7 pillars are the architectural supports of that retreat, designed to help you deconstruct the day's chaos and rebuild a sense of internal order. 1. Practice. Objective reflection, the internal auditor. Seneca suggested that at the end of the day we should hold ourselves to account. When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said, hiding nothing from myself. This is not an exercise in self-flagellation. It is objective reflection. Imagine you are a third-party observer watching a film of your day. What did I do well? Acknowledge your small victories, the moment you chose patience over irritation. What did I do wrong? Pinpoint where you deviated from your values. Did you gossip? Did you procrastinate? What could I do better? Create a mental roadmap for improvement. By doing this, you prevent your mistakes from becoming habits. You identify the glitch in the system before it crashes the program tomorrow. 2. Release what you can't control, the dichotomy of control. The foundation of Stoic philosophy is the dichotomy of control. Epictetus taught that some things are up to us, our opinions, intentions and reactions, and some things are not. The weather, the economy, and the opinions of others. Most of our nighttime anxiety stems from trying to solve things that are outside our jurisdiction. You cannot control your boss's mood, the traffic you'll face tomorrow, or the outcome of a global event. In your evening ritual, mentally categorize every stressor. If it's in the not up to me bucket, you must consciously evict it from your mind. Tell yourself, this does not concern me right now. You're choosing to stop leaking energy into a void. 3. Physical decompression, the somatic signal. The Stoics were not floating heads. They understood that the mind and body are a single integrated system. You cannot expect a frantic mind to settle if the body is still buzzing with cortisol and fight or flight energy. Physical decompression serves as a bridge. Whether it's a slow walk without your phone or 5 minutes of deliberate stretching, you're signaling to your nervous system that the hunt is over. You're transitioning from the sympathetic nervous system, action, stress, to the parasympathetic nervous system, rest, digest. You're telling your DNA, the environment is safe, you can stand down. 4. Negative visualization, premeditatio malorum. Defanging tomorrow. While modern positive thinking tells us to only imagine success, the Stoics practice premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This sounds grim, but it is actually the ultimate tool for tranquility. Spend 2 minutes contemplating what might go wrong tomorrow. A meeting might be cancelled, a child might get sick, your car might not start. By looking these possibilities in the eye tonight, you strip them of their power to shock you tomorrow. You realize that you have the internal resources to handle them. You move from a state of fragile optimism to one of stoic invincibility. You aren't hoping for a perfect day. You're preparing to be a person who can handle any day. 5. View from above, the cosmic perspective. Our problems feel massive because we are too close to them. We are like ants staring at a pebble, convinced it is a mountain. The view from above is a cognitive exercise to regain perspective. Mentally zoom out, see yourself in your room, then see your house, your city, your continent, and finally the earth spinning in the vast silent vacuum of space. Look at the timeline of history, the billions who lived before you and the billions who will come after. In this vast expanse, your embarrassing comment during lunch or your missed deadline shrinks to its true size, a microscopic speck. This isn't meant to make your life feel meaningless, but to make your anxieties feel manageable. 6. Gratitude for the simple. Finding the amor fati Stoicism is often misunderstood as being emotionless. In reality, it encourages a deep, profound appreciation for existence. Amor fati, a love of one's fate, begins with noticing the small prose in the ledger. Take a moment to acknowledge one thing that went right. It shouldn't be a promotion or a lottery win. Look for the mundane miracles. The warmth of the water in your shower, the fact that you have a bed to sleep in, a brief laugh with a stranger. By ending the day on a note of gratitude, you prime your brain to look for the good the following morning. You're training your reticular activating system to filter for beauty rather than threat. 7. Prepare for the morning, reducing future friction. The final pillar is practical. Marcus Aurelius struggled to get out of bed. We know this because he wrote about it in his diary. He had to argue with himself to get up and do the work of a human being. To help your morning self, your evening self must do the heavy lifting. Decide on your most important task, MIT. Don't wake up and wonder what to do. Know exactly what your primary objective is. Eliminate choice, lay out your clothes, pack your bag. By reducing the number of decisions you have to make in the first 30 minutes of the day, you preserve your willpower for the things that actually matter. You're showing kindness to the person you will be tomorrow morning. The synthesis of the pillars. These 7 pillars work together to create a sanitized mental environment. You've audited your behavior, step 1, discarded useless baggage, step 2, calmed the biological machine, step 3, armored yourself against surprise, step 4, shrunk your problems, step 5, anchored yourself in gratitude, step 6, and paved the way for success, step 7. When you finish this ritual, you aren't just going to sleep. You're entering a state of controlled recovery, ready to wake up not as a victim of the world, but as a student of it. After the reflection, the physical decompression, and the cosmic perspective, you reach the apex of the Stoic evening ritual. This is not merely a state of being tired. It is the arrival at a profound psychological threshold. In Stoicism, this is the moment of total contentment. It is the point where you lie down, close your eyes, and realize that for this day, the work is finished. You have settled your accounts with the universe. The death of the day. The Stoics, particularly Seneca, viewed each night as a mini rehearsal for the end of life. While that may sound morbid to a modern ear, to the Stoic, it was the ultimate source of freedom. Seneca famously wrote, "We should go to our sleep with joy and gladness. Let us say, I have lived, I have run the course which fortune set for me. If God grants us a tomorrow, let us receive it with joy." The climax of your ritual occurs when you can say, with total honesty, "I have lived today." This is the moment where you die to the day. All the unfinished projects, the unsaid words, and the lingering ambitions are surrendered. By treating the end of the day as a completion of a mini-life, you strip away the frantic unfinishedness that keeps most of the world awake. You aren't waiting for the weekend, or for retirement, or for a better tomorrow to feel whole. You are whole now because you did what was within your power today. The arrival of ataraxia. When you reach this climax, you enter a state the Greeks called ataraxia, a state of robust tranquility and imperturbability. It is the silence that remains when the internal chatter of "I should have" and "what if" finally ceases. In this moment, you realize that your happiness is no longer a hostage to the future. Most people lie in bed mentally rehearsing the future, which is a form of borrowing worry. The Stoic, through the climax of contentment, realizes that the future does not exist yet, and the past has ceased to be. All that remains is the pillow, the breath, and the character you have forged over the last 16 hours. This is the peace that passes understanding, not because life is perfect, but because your will is aligned with reality. The power of enough. The climax of contentment is rooted in the radical notion of sufficiency. Our consumerist culture is built on the idea that you are not yet enough. You need more followers, more money, more productivity. The Stoic night ritual is the antidote to this poison. At the peak of your evening, you look at your day, with all its flaws and minor successes, and you declare it enough. You stop the productivity clock. You recognize that you are a human being, not a human doing. This realization creates a surge of psychological safety. Your inner child, or your lizard brain, finally feels it can stop scanning for threats or opportunities. The hunt is over. The cave is secure. The rehearsal of mortality. There is a specific quiet power in the climax of contentment that comes from acknowledging the fragility of life. As you lie there, you acknowledge that sleep is the brother of death. This isn't meant to cause fear, it's meant to cause a profound sense of relief. If you knew for certain that you would not wake up tomorrow, would you spend your last hour scrolling through a stranger's vacation photos? No. You would spend it in a state of quiet, dignified reflection. By bringing that last hour energy into every night, you elevate your life. You stop sweating the small stuff because, in the face of the big sleep, the small stuff evaporates. This is the climax. The realization that if the curtain falls tonight, the play was a success. You showed up. You tried. You were kind where you could be. You learned where you failed. The psychological reset. This moment acts as a hard reboot for the human spirit. When you reach this level of contentment, your sleep changes quality. You're no longer processing day stress during your REM cycles. Instead, your mind is free to integrate wisdom. You aren't sleeping to escape your life. You're sleeping to renew the person who is living it. The climax of contentment is the moment you stop being a passenger in your own mind and become the captain who has brought the ship safely into the harbour for the night. The waves may still be crashing outside the seawall, but inside the harbour the water is still. The final surrender. As your breathing slows, you let go of your identity. You let go of your name, your job title, and your problems. You surrender to the natural order. This is the ultimate Stoic act. Total acceptance. You have done your part. Now you let the universe do its part. You fall into sleep not as a victim of exhaustion, but as a victor of the day. The Stoic evening ritual is not a quest for perfection. It is a commitment to awareness. We often mistake discipline for a cold, rigid burden. But in the Stoic tradition, discipline is the very path to freedom. By intentionally reviewing your actions, releasing the heavy weight of things beyond your control, and mentally preparing for the dawn, you transform sleep from a mere biological necessity into a profound philosophical practice. When you engage in these 7 pillars, you effectively stop being a victim of the day's whims. You're no longer a dry leaf blown about by the winds of office politics, social media trends, or sudden misfortunes. Instead, you become the architect of your own character. You begin to see your life as a project of continuous improvement, where every night is an opportunity to close the books, and every morning is a chance for a rebirth. This ritual allows you to inhabit the space between stimulus and response. By the time your head hits the pillow, you have processed your failures, celebrated your small virtues, and accepted your mortality with a smile. You find peace not because your life is easy, but because your mind is disciplined. You have reclaimed your night, and in doing so, you have reclaimed your life. Tonight, don't just watch this video. Act on it. Before you reach for your phone in bed, ask yourself, what did I do well today? Just one thing. Once you've done that, scroll down to the comments and share one Stoic practice you're committing to tonight. If you found value in this mental reset, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. Let's build a life of intention, one night at a time.